Alright, so I just finished wrapping up A Wild Last Boss Appeared. Basically, if you like Overlord, you'll probably like this. I would say give it a watch if that's the case. Let's talk a little bit about this. Okay, so A Wild Last Boss Appeared is basically, I don't want to say budget, but a lesser well-known take on the similar type of storyline type situation to Overlord. I would personally say that it is not as good as Overlord, but it also is just a first season of it. It does seem like they plan to push multiple seasons of the series. So if you do watch it and end up liking it, that is something to potentially look forward to. I don't believe there has been anything announced or confirmed for a second season, but the end of this first season does lead me to believe that that is the plan for it. Basically, long story short, almost in like similar fashion to Overlord, although Overlord seems like it's a little bit more complicated. A Wild Last Boss Appeared basically is the story of a guy who enjoys this RPG. He plays as a character called Lufus, and eventually is trapped or reincarnated into the game as his player character, Lufus. More or less, in this world, she is known as kind of one of the most strong beings in the entire world, so to speak. And it follows our main character in the body of his player character from the world of this RPG. Throughout the story, Lufus goes and tries to gather up the members of her party throughout. And honestly, it's not something that I ever really got super invested in, although there were times where there were some pretty cool fight scenes and nice animation and art as well. And I think the art and animation actually being pretty solid for the series is why I hesitate to call it a budget Overlord. I don't know that there's a huge step down in terms of quality from Overlord. I don't think the show is bad. It's, for me, not Overlord. I never got as invested in this as I did in Overlord. But then again, back to one of my earlier comments, I think when you have 4 seasons and a movie of time to get your crowd invested, that does naturally happen, whereas A Wild Last Boss Appears has 12 episodes to this point. So maybe the story is just not to that point. And with that being said, in the final episode of the season, you do kind of get a picture painted of where the story could go. And it does seem to be fairly interesting in terms of what the long term for the series could be if it continues to be animated. I do like the cast of characters in the show quite a bit. She goes through and gathers the rest of her group up, and you have, you know, some lovable characters in Dina and Ares, and one of my favorites in this series specifically is Libra. I think she's a pretty badass character. Like I said, I never really got super heavily invested in this first season of this. If a second season was announced, I would watch it, yes. And maybe if that were the case, I would find myself becoming more invested as the story goes along. For my score for this anime, I gave it a 67 out of 100. Like I said, I don't know that there was anything particularly wrong with the series. It just did not draw me in as much as some of the other stuff I have watched this season. So with that being said, let's circle back, come full circle. If you like Overlord, give this a watch. You may or may not like it. I don't think it's quite as dark as the world of Overlord. It follows the same kind of trope that Overlord follows. I also think the Overlord characters are significantly better than the ones in this. But it's not fair to compare the two series in my mind. It's the most natural comparison that I come to when I think what's an easy way to relay this to somebody who hasn't watched it. So once again, 67 out of 100 is my rating for the series. A definite recommend if you are a fan of Overlord. Go in with a open mindset and you will get some enjoyment out of it, I think. Like I said, there are several fight scenes in the series this season that were pretty cool. So for no other reason, you can check it out for the fight scenes. I think it's worth that at least. So with that being said, we're gonna wrap this video up. I appreciate you guys watching, and I will catch you guys on the next one.